What's going on? This is Paul, your host of the Men Talk About podcast, and I gotta tell you, I'm really excited about all these things that are freaking happening, and the conversations that are starting to happen from the subject matter on the Men Talk About podcast. And it's great to hear more men having conversation around things like work-life balance, things like style, things like sex education. And one of the things that I'm going over in this video is my balance of the masculine and feminine energies. So for those that have listened to the podcast, I had a podcast with Kamesh Peter Iacovello, and we talked about the masculine and feminine energy. And we actually did a couple other segments on the masculine and feminine energy as well. And this is a really important topic for me anyway. I don't know what it is for you, but I know for me it's an important topic. The reason being is because for me, I'm working on my self-love, and working on my self-love with my coach and guide, I came to the space of getting more familiar with my masculine and feminine energies. Now, I want to pause for a second, because a lot of times when I say masculine and feminine energies, people automatically go to, oh, this is about being male or female. No, that's far from what it is. Masculine and feminine are energies. Masculine and feminine reside in all of us. Yes, this is correct. Masculine and feminine reside in all of us. There's something in you from past videos that you've seen of me, or like even from listening to the podcast, you've heard me refer to something called the Hermetic principles or the Kabbalion. These are the universal laws. One of the universal laws is gender. And it talks about in society or with man makes masculine and feminine about the sex organ. Like male has a penis, female has a vagina. And the masculine and feminine energies reside in all things. Like there's masculine and feminine properties. Properties is another way, a good way of saying it. So what are the differences between the two? You can see the different properties as I scroll through in this picture here. You can see the different properties that are out there for the masculine and feminine. Now here's the thing though, right? What I'm taking away from this is that I'm learning about the properties of both within me. And what I've found is that like it's a challenge for me to dive into the feminine aspect of myself, because I don't know what the heck that even looks like. Because most of the time, one of the feminine aspects or properties is nurturing. And for me personally, especially since I'm working on the feminine within, I'm horrible at nurturing myself. So that's how I know that that's one area that I get to focus on in regards to the feminine energy. Now here's the kicker, right? What this video is about is 3 of the things that I've cemented in, or that I'm working with and practicing to really help me hone into the overall feminine energy within myself. And I'm sharing them with you because I think it's going to be really helpful. And I think it's a guidepost for more men to be able to identify, like, you know what? Like, what the heck does it mean to tap in or to tune into my feminine side so I can balance out my masculine and feminine? And before I even get into the masculine and feminine or the feminine aspects to enhance within men, what the hell is the benefit of balancing your masculine and feminine? Masculine and feminine energies, when a man can balance those, it's a great recipe for health and well-being. It's also a great recipe for tapping into our creative side, tapping into our intuitive side. And again, this is about having the balance of both. I'll give you an example. When I first really identified with the power of balancing the masculine and feminine, I recognized that the masculine part of myself was failing to listen to the intuition, which was the feminine aspect of myself. So, long story not so long, by me going against my intuition, what I found is that I usually get into mistakes or I get into problems. Now, the lesson or the message here is that when a man fails to tap into the feminine aspect, or in this case, the intuitive aspect of himself, the masculine aspect of himself can go awry. because it's only focused on one specific tendency or set of properties that are along one line or on one spectrum, on one pole. Whereas being able to balance that intuitive side of the feminine with the masculine side of action, now a man can tap into the intuitive side and get a guide and sense of what's next, and then act on it, right? And then when we act on it, it's in a specific lane, it's in alignment, and it may even seem effortless, okay? Being and that's also feminine energy, being in flow, being like creative, chaos energy, like things that can go all over the place. The masculine is about having a container, okay? Why I mention that is, again, that's another way of balancing the masculine and feminine. The creative aspect of the feminine, when in a structure of the masculine, can provide a lot of juice, can provide a lot of focus, intention, manifestation abilities. So there's a lot of positive things that can happen when men can balance the masculine and feminine. So here are the three things that I'm going to suggest in this video for you to tap into as a man, that's going to help you to balance out or tap into that feminine side, that will help you balance out yourself as a whole and help you get enhanced health and well-being. So there's three aspects I've learned, right, from my guide, and three aspects I've been teaching myself. Well, this is 3 of 9 things I learned from my coach and my guide right now, Alona, and it's from an article that she wrote, and it was really fascinating because these were the 3 that really stuck out to me. So I'm sharing them here with you, and also in the notes or comments, I'll share the link to the article. Man, you can probably find some other stuff in there that's more relevant, or that rings more true to you, for you. So this is the first one. The first one that we have is embracing diversity. The second one that we have is empathic and attentive communication. And the third is being able to see beyond what's in front of me. So again, we have embracing diversity, empathic and attentive communication, and being able to see what's being able to see beyond what's in front of me. Now, how the hell are these 3 about the feminine? Well, first of all, with the feminine, about embracing diversity. The feminine aspect of the feminine properties within a man that we can enhance is about embracing different ways of doing things. If you're a dude watching this, I don't know what it is for you, but I know for me, I can get stuck in a certain way of like, okay, once I know something works, I'm not doing shit. I'm just gonna keep along that vibe. I'm not. Why mess it up if it ain't broke? Why? I fail to see understanding that. And what I've recognized in this is that by me being able to be flexible, be able to embrace another perspective or another way of doing things. Like in the example before, like I was failing to listen to my intuitive side, which is a diverse perspective than my usual action side. My intuitive side is like, nah, man, I shy away from that. Being able to embrace diversity gives a man a chance to be able to see outside of their perceptions, their conditioning, their box, their views. Now, what the heck is the benefit to this? Well, I'm glad you asked. The benefit of this is that there's new ways of doing, there's a new way of action that a man can take on. There's a new way of conversation. There's a new way of relating to another or to a thing. By being able to embrace a different perspective and being able to be able to listen and experience something different than what we're used to. So what's the benefit of this? The benefit of the embracing diversity is it frees us of any limits that we put on ourselves. Because the limit is, I see something, I'm going to do it a certain way. So that's the first aspect for a man to embrace the feminine. Embrace diversity. The second one, empathic and attentive communication. Well, this is a very interesting one. And again, these 3 are something that I'm practicing. I'm sharing them because it may help another dude out here. attentive and empathic communication is really a practice. What the hell does this mean? Being able to be empathic means that I can take an opportunity to even begin to think what your situation would be like. Put myself in your shoes, right? When you're saying something, be able to hear you and be on that side with you and be able to, tell me more about that. Like to the point where I want to be curious enough that I want to know what's going on for you so much that I want to be like I'm in it. Okay, that's empathic communication. Attentive communication means that I'm looking at the cues. I'm looking at your body language along with what you're saying. I think this is really important in this time because now with like Zoom and all these online platforms and how we communicate now, it's really important to be able to listen beyond the words that people are saying. It means being attentive means looking at the body language, the gestures, the body position, body language, the tone of the voice. Being able to have that empathy, that attentive part of communication, again, is really starting to open up, and it's also receiving. The feminine energy is receiving. So by having that empathic and attentive communication, I'm receiving everything that another has, and I'm doing it free of judgment. Okay, that communication, that empathic and attentive communication, I know for me, listen, sometimes, like especially in relationship, I can zone out on shit. Like I'm like, okay, you said blah, 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 blah. Yep, right. Yeah, okay, and I'm zoned out. Me being empathic means I'm engaged in that conversation. It means I'm asking questions. Again, I'm on that side with you. And what that means is like, I'm trying to be in that situation with you so I can get an idea of what you were experiencing or what it's like for you. Because I'm coming from my box and I'd like to be curious about what's up for you. So being able to have that empathic and attentive communication is another way a man can start to embrace more of the feminine aspects and properties of himself. The third one, uno, dos, tres. The third one that we're working with here is being able to see beyond what's in front of me, okay? What the heck does that have to do with anything? Well, listen, why is this so important? Well, this is a space where I can start to I can start to be free of judgment, and also I can have the ability to forgive. So this one was interesting because it took me a little bit. I'm like, yo, what? And this is why I really appreciate this one, because the feminine aspect of self, I'm going to be able to tap into that empathic portion I was telling you about, that nurturing component, that intuitive component. And I'm going to be able to determine what's what for me. If something's good, if something's, if there's something else, if there's something beyond what I'm experiencing. So as a male, like for me, like if something happens with someone else or something, I'm like, I take it for what it is. I'm like, yo, it is what it is. Whereas if I start embracing the more of the feminine properties within myself, I'm going to start to look at I'm going to start to look at what's behind a comment, an action, any different things. So for example, if someone says something to me and all of a sudden I take it at face value, like someone's like, you know what, you're being a freaking jerk today. And I'm like, you know what? So are you. I take it at face value, right? I'm taking it at face value. That's the masculine. Like, okay, you said this, I'm acting on it. I'm going to go over here. Or I'm going to say something to you, challenge you. The feminine aspect, let's say, for example, from pulling in more of the feminine property in that conversation, someone could be like, you know what, you're being a freaking jerk today. And I could be like, okay, tell me more. What's going on? What has you thinking that? Like, what are the things that I did that have you feeling that way? Help me understand. Right? I can start to, by even asking those questions, I can start to get an idea of what's behind what he's saying, especially if there's like, hey, look, I don't know what the heck I did. Maybe I did something, I'm unaware of it, or maybe I didn't do anything at all, and it's a projection that this other person has. So this is about pulling in that feminine aspect, okay? This is the benefit of this, because it'll help also with conflict management, because someone could say or do something, and as a male, I may want to fly off the handle or react, and taking a pause for a second to respond gives me the ability to see beyond what the heck, whatever the heck just happened. I can see beyond that and get to a point of, okay, there's something else behind this. Let's get to that. And then I can pull in the other things like empathic and attentive communication. I can also, because I can hear the person and be there with the person, see what's going on. And then I can also embrace diversity, because now I can get to see a scenario from a completely different perspective and view. So it brings along a whole different tint to how we present ourselves as men in the collective and in our environments. So again, the three things I'm learning, or I'm pulling in, or the feminine properties I'm pulling in to help balance me out, balance out my masculine and feminine, so I can have a higher level of health and well-being. The first one is embracing diversity. The second one is empathic and attentive communication. And the third is being able to see beyond what's in front of you. These three areas, these three feminine properties are a great way to pull, to balance out the masculine and feminine properties within men. And again, this gives us the opportunity to present and to be in a different space when we show up as men in our lives and in our communities. So blessings, blessings, blessings. I'm glad you guys got to listen to this. If you have questions, put them in the comments, man. Put them in the comments. Look it up. All right. Blessings. Thank you for watching. Thank you for tuning in. And check out the Men Talk About podcast. It's on Apple. It's on Google. It's on Spotify. It's on Anchor.fm. It's out there. Who you with? A lot of episodes. Hook it up. Subscribe, comment, rate it, all that good stuff. Thanks. This is Paul, your host for Men Talk About, and your new wellness guide, bringing you tools to help you unearth and extract the leader that you are in your version of health and well-being. Be well, everybody, and until next time.